All right, guys, good morning. Welcome aboard to the Morning Note. My name is Carlos Garcia. I'm the founder and CEO of Gar Capital. Happy November, November 1st, 2024. Hope everyone had a happy and safe Halloween night last night. We are now in my favorite month, November. I love the fall, it's the best. And yes, of course, seasonally speaking, stocks do better in November. So I have a little bit of a bias there. Back to it, anyways. We got a lot to go over in terms of economic reports. You have it right in front of you. This is part of the live market blog. It is free for all. If you want to join in on Discord, the information is scrolling at the bottom. We could see right off the rip that is not a typo on how many jobs were added. Wait, where was it? Where was the actual number? Forced participation, private payrolls minus 28K. Let me see if I can get the right one. Bear with me a second. Thought it was here. All right, we'll go to private payroll. Here we go. Let's go ahead and copy, and I'll paste it. There we go. Now we have the number. Breaking U.S. non-farm payrolls report actual 12,000, not 120,000, 12,000. So with that being said, what does that mean for the market? Why is the market green? Well, that does mean that more than likely we're going to get rate cuts in a couple weeks when they have the FOMC. We're going to get a 25 basis point cut. That's what I think anyways. And you could see interest rate futures price in firmer chances of 25 basis point cut in November, December in 2025. Again, it is due to the labor market. So all the labor readings, that's what the Fed cares about. They're not really too concerned in terms of inflation. We had a PCE number yesterday that didn't really move anything for the most part. You see the forecast 100K jobs, 12,000. Yeah, that is not a typo. Just last month, we had 254,000 jobs added. So big discrepancy. You can use any excuse you want. I don't know if the hurricane is the biggest driver of that. You could see private payrolls are down 46,000 negative. But unemployment rate 4.1%. Historically speaking, that's very strong. So at least that. Let's go ahead and go over the futures. Dow futures are up 215. Nasdaq's up 0.41%. Apple's down pre-market because of their earnings that they reported. They beat the top and bottom line. I think the guidance wasn't good enough, but we'll go over some of the technicals that I saw beforehand. S&P 500 futures up 0.46. The Russell is up 0.82%. That was flat earlier, so the NFP number must have driven up that move on the Russell, and you could see that it did. This is from this morning. So from 2206 to 2226, so about 20 points there. Crude oil is up 2.71%. Yes, I'm still holding excellent calls. Let's see if we get that push. I went ahead and sent out a note to our members this morning going over the positions we have, the trades that we've been doing, and updating as we go along. Gasoline's up 2.39%. Gold is up 0.74%. Copper's up 1.45%. Silver. So you can see the commodities are bouncing a little bit here. Dollar is up slightly. Again, this is the dollar index versus a basket of other currencies, but you can see the dollar is not exactly moving sharply. 10-year treasury yields. Again, this is a reflection of that jobs report. So now interest rates are going to fall. Bonds are being bought to lock in that rate before 25 basis points in November. So we're going to start seeing bonds start to rally, bond prices, yields are going to come down, and keep an eye on small caps. They benefit greatly from lower rates, and seasonally speaking, small caps Russell gains in November and December. November is a very strong month for equities, guys. There's a lot of catch up to do for these mutual funds and other hedge funds that on stocks that may have been under-owned, let's just say. So be on the lookout. We expect bullish moves November into December. So what else we got? Oh, the VIX up down 4.75%. That's still above 20. So we want a break below 20. There's a gap to fill at 2046. I know. Technicals on the VIX doesn't really work, but hey, double top. I think that the market has a little more room to the upside. Yes, I say we bounce higher than where we are currently. We'll fill this gap here at 2045. Let's see the 10-year treasury yields rather quickly. I know the jobs number looks like bad news, but that's actually good news for traders who want higher asset prices. You could see starting to get near that 4.4% resistance. It's rejecting it now. Let's see if we can get below 41.62, which would be 4.162% on a 10-year treasury bond. So we want that lower. We want more downside. We want money to be cheaper so stocks can go higher. It's the name of the game. Let's see here. What else? Anything on Forex? not much. If the dollar yen is not moving, then it's pretty quiet. Bitcoin's up 0.14%, rather muted, and Ethereum 2542. All right, let's go and take a look at Apple. This is what I want to show you guys. This is from Market Watch. I was updating everyone. Let's see if I can find that. Here we go. This was sent at 11:05 a.m. yesterday. Apple 220 puts for next week, which I said this yesterday. 3,500 on vol, highest on the board for that expiry with an ask of 305. This was not a signal. What I do with earnings is that I'll go ahead and send out to our market team. This is our signal members. Basically what I'm seeing. And again, guys, if we're not signaling it, then there's a reason why. Again, everyone just wants information. That's totally cool. But you could see how Apple was showing kind of that downward flag, let's say, and then just kind of really just targeting 223.25 with 220 being support. So there you go. The 220 puts were the highest on the board. If any of the members caught that, great job. If you didn't, no worries. We'll have a chance to trade it because I do believe it'll bounce right off to 220, if not around that area. It is breaking below the 20-week moving average. So that is concerning on Apple. Here's what I expect. That 220 level was tagged. I think we're going to bounce back above 224 or so. So if you have Apple puts, I would get out of them because 220 support has already been tagged. Take a look at the 4-hour. You could see it. Again, just like the chart I showed you earlier, 223 was kind of that first level I was looking for, but those 220 puts, again, if you have those puts, make sure to get rid of them because I do expect that Apple should recapture this 20-week MA here at 223.87. Let's take a look at Intel. There's another one I was talking about, possible bull flag here. This was on the Market Watch as well. And you could see, again, flagpole, flag, broke out, but hit some R here. So there's a reason I have an alert here, 25.51. Nice move. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for it, but we're not where we want to be. We need to break that 25.51 so we can play this retrace of the filling of this gap, right around 28.71. We're going to get there on Intel. I don't have a doubt about that. The question remains to me is that how long will it take for 25.51 to break? They just had earnings, so we would need some really good news or something where they're selling some assets to raise capital or show some growth drivers. Fair enough. But as of right now, 25.51 on Intel, we can have that discussion. For right now, you're not doing much. Amazon, $200 a share is the Bezos call wall. That is, or call wall, the sell wall. That's been the level that for some reason it just keeps rejecting. And I said it right here at 11:10 yesterday. Again, I'd rather pick up the pieces post earnings. We were sitting right at the 20-day moving average. That was yesterday. 183.50 or we get back to 195. That was pretty much it. So I was rather neutral there. The only concern I had was that 200 level, yet we still haven't broken. I think it will over time. It will. I mean, obviously in November, you can see that we're starting to break out of this possible double top or it already broke, Just the question remains to me is that can we get a close above 200, a daily close above 200? That's what I'm looking for. But I mean, it's an absolute breakout from the highs of 2021. So yes, Amazon has more room to go, and you're not late to the party. Let's just say Amazon does look pretty great. Let's see if there's anything else I'm missing here. I like WFC, XLE members, or if they're trading that. You can see we're starting to get that pop higher. There was some unusual options activity for this week's calls. The 91s had like 10,000, 12,000 in vol. So that's what we saw. We're starting to finally get that push higher. Exxon reported they beat. Chevron reported as well. They're moving higher. So we're going to see if we can get back to 91, hopefully by today. We'll see what we get. Let's answer some questions today. All right. Good morning. Happy Friday. Bitcoin and Mara. How about that? Thanks. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much. Let's see. Thanks for the question. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. There's two issues here with Bitcoin that I have. I think I talked about this yesterday. If this is a proxy on Donald Trump winning the election and this is the only reason people are buying Bitcoin, we're going to probably fall. That's a risk. I mean, if that's your only catalyst, that's a problem. The catalyst for me for Bitcoin has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with one thing, the dollar. If the dollar falls in value, then these assets are going to pump higher. There's a reason why gold is near all-time highs and Bitcoin. Two different sides of the spectrum in terms of risk. It's denomination of currency. If you do gold versus Bitcoin, that ratio is a lot more skewed, obviously towards, I believe gold is outperforming Bitcoin this year. Again, I have to look at that ratio, but keep in mind, next Tuesday, all of this can be reversed. So you have to be careful if that is pegged to the Trump winning. Let's take a look at Mara. Mara, again, I need 20. You got to get me above 20. That's above the 200-day. Until that breaks, I don't even think this is a discussion yet. You may have to wait till election day. Amazon, I think we just went over. Again, my main thing is, do we get above 200? Do we settle above 200 on today? Do we get like a weekly close, a daily close above 200? That's what I want. And then next week we can go and pick up the pieces. Morning boss, what price would you be looking at filling some IWM calls? I do like the small caps. 227 would be the break. You can do the 230s. I assume would probably be the one with the most volume. Again, upward triangle. We know the drill. 227 break. The only issue is possibly 228 is resistance. I think you're fine, especially in November seasonally. 230 is going to be the call, but get me above 227 first. Getting in here, you might just chop around. We're only at 219, so maybe a little bit. Microsoft, is it a buy and hold from here? Well, I might be a little greedy. I'm kind of waiting for 385 to 400. We just are not there yet. I know we had a little bit of a flush yesterday, but I was expecting another flush, either post-election or pre-election, a little bit of jitters. So I think we get one more opportunity, possibly, where Microsoft can have a little bit of price fluctuation. Has nothing to do with Microsoft, obviously. It's just the market, and we can possibly see if we can buy the dip. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. Worst case scenario, market soar, regardless of who wins, and everyone's happy, right? Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla was a tough one. I traded that one and got triple topped hit. The second I got in, that thing fell. We still have a massive gap to fill here at 218, but nothing has really broken as of yet. You can see we're bouncing off 250. If we get above 260, God, I kind of hate myself for saying I'd want to get back in, but I think 270 break would confirm. So 270 for upside. If we're looking for downside, we want to go to 242.56, and then we can see about puts down to 218. Now, there might be an issue here. Tesla might fill this gap. For example, if Harris wins because he's so close with the Trump administration or trying with the campaign, excuse me. So that might be a quick automatic sell from the algos if Harris tends to win. Again, I'm going to talk about all of this on our podcast for the election. I'll go over some of the stocks that might be affected and kind of how you'll navigate. This isn't our first election, and this probably won't be your last. So again, just get yourself prepared. We'll talk about it. Make sure to subscribe on Spotify and Apple Music or wherever you get your podcasts. I'll even post it on YouTube. Our old friend FCX. Okay. Freeport-McMoRan. Yeah. I mean, what are we doing here? I guess the downside, really, that's what you're looking for. Use 46 as support, but it looks like 40 is coming. But again, that's really dependent on the dollar. You need copper to go higher. You can see that it is a pre-market with copper. So if the dollar goes down, that'd be great news. CrowdStrike, CrowdStrike, I mean, you'd have to get above 335 or so. But a nice bounce from when it got nuked. Let's see, PNW. Yeah, Palo Alto Networks is just kind of drifting higher, very similar to Microsoft. Was it Google? Very similar. Very similar price action. So they kind of move in tandem, at least based on the chart. You could see Google, very beautiful upward channel. Yeah, obviously that being this, but you could see the upward channel has been pretty much stuck in there. Not much to do on Palo Alto Networks. I guess if you break 385, you want to buy there, fine, but nothing really attractive here. Let's see, team. You're holding the 50-week moving average, but it just seems like chop here. So nothing really attractive here. Is my podcast on Tidal? Maybe I'm aging myself here. I don't even know what Tidal is. I assume that's the music thing, like Spotify. Maybe that changed, but no, that I know of, I don't know. I just put it on Spotify. What do I think of Ford? Let's see it. Weekly looks terrible. Oof, not good. Support right around 950. That's pretty much it. If you break below that, yeah, you're going to start getting into the 8s. You're going to start getting into the 7s, something crazy like that. This is what happens when you have a kind of lower price stock. It doesn't mean that Ford isn't worth money. But yeah, if you start breaking the lows of $9.50, you got until $8. This is a name that is very volatile. This is consumer discretionary, buying automobiles. When things slow down, hiring slows down, job creation, Ford and automotive are the first one to get hit. Roblox. All right, see that weekly? Need 53.39. That's what I'm looking for. 53.39 breaks out. We're going to look great. If you look on the weekly, you can see we have a gap to fill here on the daily. Well, I guess I have to put it for 3 weeks, 3 years. But yes, there was a gap here from an earnings gap at 66. So that would be my target. Keep an eye on any unusual volume. Can you briefly explain what people mean that markets priced in something? An example. Thanks, Chief. Priced in means that the money's already there. Like the expectation is already built. So when someone says, well, we're going to have a bad inflation report, so markets kind of sell off ahead of time, that's already built in. Like we already know the news is already priced in, is what it means. So I guess the only thing I can kind of make an analogy with is with sports betting. If someone comes up to you and say, yo, I got some insider information, Kansas City Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. You're going to be like, yeah, man, thanks. They're 6-0. I'm pretty sure they're going to be fine. So the odds of them winning are going to be better than, let's say, the Carolina Panthers, who have the worst record in the league. Again, the money is priced in that the Chiefs are going to win, hence the odds. It's very similar to stock trading where the news is priced in already. The money is already in the system or already bought, preparing for something that's either inevitably going to happen or let everyone down. And when people are let down and expectations aren't met, that's where you get the volatility. That's why NVIDIA short, where we did the puts, were a pain in the butt because it took forever. We had the 136 puts, guys. Mind you, we are now at 132.76. That was like teeth pulling right there. NVIDIA puts were not priced in. Right around 144, everyone was expecting all-time highs. Remember that. Remember how the greed factor index was very, very high? Once we got above 140, that's it. All-time highs are coming. And what happens when everyone's on one side? How many people yesterday were betting that the Houston Texans were going to beat the Jets? I don't know. Everyone was expecting the Jets to lose, especially at halftime. And what happens? Expectations weren't met. The Jets won. It happens. It just happens that way. What would happen to BAC stock if Harris wins? Immediately, like next day, I have no idea. Over time, it's just going to go higher. And remember, stock prices are moving higher, guys. Not just because companies are making money. Obviously, they are. The purchasing power of the currency, the dollar, keeps falling. Inflation is not new. Inflation has began and has been this way since the advent of the Federal Reserve System. It's what it is. So, stocks going up doesn't necessarily mean that you're smart or a great president. It really just time. That's really it. It's time and the currency devaluation. That's what makes these assets move. Unless you're pricing Bank of America in gold, it's different. But pricing in dollars like we do every day, it doesn't matter who's president. The dollar will erode in value, period, because it's not finite. We keep printing it, more supply, more supply. So I wouldn't put too much emphasis on what will happen if such and such wins immediately, because anything could happen. Everything has happened to the stock market throughout the last 250 years of the United States, and we've come out the other side quite fine. And the last one here, because I got to wrap it up, because we're about to have the opening bell. GME, anything here? I don't see anything worth doing here, unless there's some kind of squeeze happening that I don't know of. I don't see anything in regards to GME. Here's the question. One time for Instagram, my apologies, I didn't answer any questions. If there is any, I'm going to scroll rather quickly. YouTube asks a lot of questions. Good morning, Anthony. I think I asked the GME. That was a GME question. That's why you just buy and hold good companies. See, MDRBIO, I'm going to ruin that name. Gets it. You understand now. It's really just time. It's not about time in the market. It's time in the market. Well, why do you do this, Carlos? Because people like to trade. So do I. There's not one way to do everything. Many ways to skin a cat. But if you're just an investor, it's very simple. Invest in stocks, dollar cost average, delete your password, and you don't touch it. It doesn't exist, and it'll grow forever. Just buy SPY and just turn it off. That's it. Leave it alone, like a dog burying a bone in the backyard. Just bury some SPY in an account somewhere that you'll never look at, and you'll never panic, and wake up in 10 years, you'll be like, wow, I made some money. Rinse and repeat. It really is that simple. I know. Yes, you'll have ups and downs, but stretch out your timeline. There has never been a period of 20 years within the United States of existence that the stock market in those 20 years were red. 10 years, none. 5 years, about 80% chance that your account will be green. 1 year, when you close the window, you're moving further away from the basket when you shoot the ball. Sure, you can shoot half court, it's still 3 points, or you could just go for a layup and it's 2 points. Dollar cost averaging with SPY over time is basically a layup. Think of it that way. And thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Everyone else, happy November. Thank you so much. We will see you guys for the podcast this weekend and the weekly recap and all that good stuff. Great content coming out from Gar Capital. We love to do it. Appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your weekend or day and weekend. Cheers.